A rookie against a 6-time Pro Bowl linebacker. Who's coming out on top? Isaiah Robertson was probably confident when he went to tackle Earl Campbell. Unfortunately for him, he would not be the one doing the tackling this play. Campbell ran headfirst into Robertson's chest as if he wasn't even there. He was, quote, a rhinoceros with a football. Right then and there, the rookie made a statement to the league. I dare you to tackle me. He was the ultimate power running back that refused to go down. Probably the most powerful and definitely most punishing running back in NFL history. Cliff Harris, a safety for the Dallas Cowboys, once said, Campbell is the hardest hitting running back he ever had to play against. Campbell referred to his thighs as weapons. At 36 inches wide, that seems appropriate, given they had to make custom thigh pads for the man.
Earl Campbell, I believe, had thighs this big.
Apparently, when he was younger and played as a linebacker, he was inspired by Dick Butkus, one of the hardest hitters ever.
I saw a guy one time with bow legs like mine. I wanted to be the next Dick Butkus.
Yep, I'm seeing a resemblance. He wanted to be Dick Butkus so badly, when his coach moved him to running back, he would purposely drop the ball every time. Eventually he would give in though, and John Tyler High was on their way to an undefeated season and a state championship in his senior year. Despite being a top prospect going into college and committing to the Texas Longhorns, it wouldn't be until 1977 where he truly broke out. But first he had to lose some weight, 25 pounds to be specific. He did it, became the centerpiece of the offense, and won Heisman Trophy in 1977. The Oilers were desperate for Campbell, so they traded the Bucks a player, a first, second, third, and fifth round pick to select him number 1 in the 1978 draft. The start of his career was nothing short of spectacular. Unfortunately, his peak was short-lived due to his bulldozing playing style. That being said, I personally believe an all-time great 3 to 4 years is more impressive than a player with a couple great years followed by a bunch of good years. He'd win Rookie of the Year and Offensive Player of the Year, but one game in particular propelled him and the Oilers into the spotlight. In a 35-30 victory, Campbell ran for 199 yards, including an 81-yard touchdown, finishing the night with 4 touchdowns in total. In 1979, he'd win Offensive Player of the Year again, and the MVP. From 1978 to 1980, he led the league in rushing yards and peaked in 1980 with 1,934. At that time, it ranked second for most yards in a season, just short of O.J. Simpson's 2,000 yards in 1973. He missed a game that season, otherwise he probably would have crossed the coveted 2,000-yard mark. He was one of only 2 players, Jim Brown being the other, to lead the NFL in rushing for 3 straight seasons, amassing over 5,000 yards and 45 rushing touchdowns during that time. He only played 2 seasons in the 70s and still made the All-Decade team. And in his first 2 years, the Oilers made it to the AFC Conference game. Unfortunately, he'd faced the Steelers and the Steel Curtain defense during their peak, and they dominated the Oilers on both occasions. The Steelers' corners could lock down the receivers one-on-one, which allowed everybody else to focus fully on stopping Campbell. He was held to 62 yards in the first game and only 15 in the second. But as a newspaper article put it at the time, without Earl Campbell, they were a perennial 7-9, 8-8 team. One of the most iconic plays has to be against Jack the Assassin Tatum, also known as one of the hardest hitters ever. I mean, Tatum is responsible for paralyzing a man. Turns out, he could have paralyzed Campbell. In a 1979 game, Campbell and Tatum collided at the 1-yard line. Campbell's head snapped back on impact, but he stayed up and scored. Tatum was actually the one on the ground this time. Campbell reported a burning sensation running down the heels of his feet. That was related to a medical condition that was undiagnosed at the time, spinal stenosis. He's lucky he didn't suffer a worse injury from this hit. Years after retirement, he learned he played with spinal stenosis for all of his life. It's a condition where the spaces in the spine become narrow, putting pressure on the nerves, and it can be quite painful. His doctor said he was amazed he was not paralyzed. It's the same condition that forced Michael Irvin to retire early. If they knew at the time, he likely wouldn't have played. Although he suffered with health conditions since playing, it could have been even worse. By his 4th year, production began to decline. Some of that was because of a coaching change, but the primary issue was his health. The body can only take so much of these collisions. He didn't miss many games though, 6 of 115 due to injuries, but his punishing play style took its toll and shortened his career. That seemed inevitable. Yet it has to be one of the best starts and peaks to a career ever.